How you been, Jude?
Good.
Good.
Good. Okay, I guess we'll get right into it since I got about 15 minutes. So, first question is, I'm curious to know why you'd like to run again for the 23rd Congressional District instead of running for the 20th seat, which where you live.
Well, Jude, I grew up in the 23rd District. I was educated in the 23rd District. I served in the Army in the 23rd District, and I trained at Fort Drum. I have been in the 23rd District either living or working all my life. I have 6 offices throughout the 23rd District that go all the way from Lake Placid to Watertown. So the 23rd District, I think I'm a son of the 23rd District. That's part of me, and it has been part of me all my life.
Do you have any intention of making a permanent residence inside the 23rd?
Yes, I do. I have a purchase contract that I just closed on last week. We're working on the financing, and we hope to close on that property next month. It's in Saranac Lake, my hometown, where I grew up, and I'll be moving back home.
And that will be your main residence?
That will be my primary residence.
Great. Shifting topics here on you a little bit. Bill Owens had recently requested about $204 million in funding be included in the federal highway bill for local projects, including projects as large as the Northern Tier Expressway and as small as installing GPS tracking devices in Oswego County vehicles. During your last campaign, you were kind of critical of earmarks. I was wondering, in your estimation, were Mr. Owens' requests appropriate?
Well, I think that we always need highway improvements. Now they're working on the 781 connector to Fort Drum. You know, we need the improvements. We need the upgrades. We need to fix the potholes. We always need money in the highway budget for the North Country with the frost heaves and the severe weather that we have up here. So any congressman is going to have to go after funds for the highway improvements. As far as earmarks go, Jude, I think all you have to do is it's the issue of earmarks that we have a problem with, and I think all you have to do is look in December at the health care bill negotiation. For $300 million to be given out of taxpayers' money to bribe a senator to vote for the health care bill, that money could have been better used in highway improvements in around the country to fix the things that we need fixed.
So you're okay with adding funding for local projects that only benefit the localities?
I think that if I get elected as congressman, I'm going to fight to get every dollar we possibly can that's available in Washington for the 23rd District.
Great. If you'd been elected instead of Bill Owens, you probably would have already been faced with several important votes. You mentioned the health care vote. I want to ask you about several bills and ask you if you'd support or oppose them. And let's start with health care reform.
Health care reform I definitely would have voted against.
Tell me why, succinctly as possible.
Yes, I will. I think that, number one, we can't have a bill that's going to spend $1 trillion over the next 10 years that we don't have. We can't have a bill that's going to add taxes to the small businesses and middle-class taxpayers. We can't have a bill that's going to cut important benefits from Medicare and our elderly. And we can't be talking about a bill that doesn't truly address the cost-cutting measures of health care, which importantly is tort reform and interstate competition. And the present bill doesn't even start to address those issues. And those are the major issues that can really cut the cost of health care.
Okay, staying in the health care arena, I want to ask you about the Stupak-Pitts amendment. Would you have been for that or opposed to that? Stupak-Pitts was federal funding for abortions.
I would have been opposing to that, so I would have voted for that because that prevented the voting or federal funds for abortion.
How about raising the limit on the public debt?
I would have voted against that because I think that until we start limiting the amount of national debt, we're not going to have serious conversations about reducing spending.
And in that same realm, the pay-as-you-go model that was approved.
pay-as-you-go model, if I understand it, is that unless you have the money, you don't spend it. And that certainly is what we do on a home budget basis, and I think the government should start doing that.
Okay, so you're for that.
Yes.
The $636 billion Defense Appropriation Act.
Well, one of my strongest planks in my platform is a strong national defense, and I think that that has to take top priority. And I do know that that the budget for defense this year was reduced by some $800 million, $36 million for Fort Drum alone, and I oppose reduction in the national defense. I think we have to keep that strong, and we have to put the money where our mouth is and spend it.
Okay. So it sounds like you're in favor of but we would have voted for that bill?
Oh, absolutely. I would have voted for it, but I would have even tried harder to restore the parts that were cut out of it.
Right. I just was wondering if maybe the fact that there were 1,700 earmarks totaling $4.2 billion would have caused you maybe pause and maybe to oppose it.
Well, you can't vote against a bill. That's the problem with earmarks, is they tag them on there.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you vote against it just because of the earmarks, you're not going to get your important priorities through.
Okay.
And that's why I'm against earmarks, is because of the fact that they know that you have to vote for a bill like that because we need a strong national defense. But we don't need all the earmarks tagged onto it just to spend taxpayer dollars on special projects for people around the country that may not even have anything to do with national defense.
Another bill I want to ask you about is the Tax Extenders Act of 2009, which continued $31 billion in tax breaks through 2010. It's an annual tax break reappropriation, I guess, for lack of a better term. Is that something you would have supported?
Well, I would support the ones that had to do with cutting taxes and for small businesses and because that's the economic generator of our country. And every time you increase the tax on small business, that's less money that they can reinvest into equipment and expansion. And if they're not reinvesting, then they can't hire new people.
Okay, so it sounds like, because that's what this bill did, was cut taxes for small businesses and families too. That would have been something that you would have been in favor
Absolutely.
for. Okay. This bill did include a new permanent tax that it subjected carried interest to regular income tax rates at the capital gains rate. That's a permanent tax. So I didn't know if that would cause you, again, some pause and to maybe worry about.
Well, when you're in Congress and it's you're asking me questions off the cuff here. When you're in Congress, you need to know every integral detail of a bill.
Sure.
And certainly, as you're looking at the bills, I'm not naive enough to think that when I get to Congress, every bill is going to be perfect. I'm going to like 100% of the bill.
Right.
I understand that movement is made in Washington through compromise, and you're going to have some items you don't like, and you're going to have some items that you do like. And you have to weigh each bill to determine if it's worth the compromise to get this bill through, to get the issues that you want through.